Many players think the side cut involves forcing the ball sideways and downward. But it actually involves forcing it sideways and forward, similar to Kong Linghui's serve. Alright, let's break down 3 common pushes for amateurs: the fast long push, the side push, and the side cut. Okay, first, let's talk about the fast long push. This is a proper fast long push. Any shaky or indirect motion like this is incorrect. The advantage of the fast long push is that the ball travels fast and with heavy backspin. The disadvantage is that it's highly susceptible to the incoming spin. If the opponent's serve has heavy spin, try to contact the side of the ball. If the ball has little to no spin, you should definitely push the back of the ball. If the opponent serves with heavy spin, a direct fast push will make you misread the spin. So, if your opponent serves a short ball with weak spin, you can push the back of the ball for a fast long push. If the ball has more spin, you must use a side push or a side cut to avoid the strongest part of the spin. It's the same for penhold players. Always align your body with the ball to execute a proper fast push. I'll demonstrate 2 pushes. Look at the first and the second one, which is more threatening. The second one is more threatening. The biggest threat from the second push comes from the racket head. Imagine the tip of your racket is like a fishtail. If you only use your forearm, the ball will feel slow and lack a second acceleration. Therefore, after you send the ball with your forearm, the racket head must accelerate towards the table. If your follow-through stops like this, the ball will have some spin but no speed. So for both shakehand and penhold, your racket head must face the table after the push. This is how your long push will achieve maximum speed. After contact, don't stop, let the racket head drop down. For a fast long push, your racket head is your booster. Follow through with racket head acceleration instead of stopping short. It gives the ball a heavy backspin that makes the second bounce skid low. Because you're using the racket head, you are still brushing the bottom side of the ball, which will definitely generate more spin. So, when you want to execute a fast long push, I advise against pushing straight forward and back, as you'll be too sensitive to spin. I generally use the racket head like a fishtail, with a small whipping motion. A major benefit of pushing this way is that it's excellent for pushing down the line. This tail whipping motion gives you effortless control on your straight pushes, without needing extra adjustments. Watch this racket head action carefully. As your forearm moves down to meet the ball, since the racket head is dangling, you turn it to point towards the table. Just with that small turn, the spin on the ball will increase significantly. Many players ask, why do my pushes pop up so high? Watch these 2 balls. Why did the first one go high? Against this kind of low spin ball, if I use the top part of the racket to push, it's easy to pop it up. It's not that my racket angle was wrong or I didn't use my fingers, it just pops up when contacted there. Using the same motion, I'll raise my hand slightly to ensure the ball contacts the lower half of my racket. Look, with the same motion, even if I add more power, I can push the ball down, and the trajectory is much lower. So, the reason your push goes high is because you're contacting the top half of the racket. Unless it's pure backspin, the ball will pop up, and adding power will send it out. Let me ask you, when you push, do you actually watch the contact point? You probably don't. Most amateurs just look straight ahead, they don't look down at the ball. Table tennis helps your eyes adjust focus because you're constantly switching between near and far objects. So when receiving serve, you must estimate the ball's bounce height and adjust your hand position immediately. If the bounce is low, bring your hand down, if it's high, bring it up. You must contact every ball on the lower half of your racket. Only with this downward motion can the ball follow your brush and produce the trajectory you want. If you contact the ball on the upper half, the more power you use, the higher it will pop up. Over time, this leads to a habit of just blocking or touching the ball, because the proper push technique goes out of bounds, so you just try to get it on the table. Always use the bottom half of your racket to meet the ball. That's how you can execute a proper push and keep it low, regardless of the incoming spin. The fast long push has a prerequisite: you must contact the ball at the peak of its bounce. The direction of force is simple to understand, it's from your chest forward and down towards the table surface. Many players struggle with pushes, first because they're afraid of hitting the table, and second, because their forearm just shoves the ball forward. The angle of your forearm must be downward, as if going from the third floor, to the second, to the first. If you realize the ball is already on its way down when you get there, a fast push will go straight into the net. If your timing is slightly late, you need to change your strategy immediately to the side push we're about to cover. You can no longer do a fast long push. Let's take a look. From the peak of the bounce, drive your racket head from your chest towards the table. Watch my wrist. Drive the force from your chest towards the table. Now, let's discuss the side push. The side push is especially effective against left side spin, giving you effortless control whether you're pushing to the backhand or forehand side. The key to the side push is to contact the ball on its right side from your perspective. To be specific, if this is the bottom center of the ball, you want to contact this area, slightly to the right. This is the primary contact point for a side push. Then you brush the ball sideways. This doesn't mean you need to make your racket vertical. It means you apply force from that contact point sideways. The side push is the easiest to land. In terms of value, it's even more useful than a fast long push because we most often use pushes to return serves. First key point, your racket angle shouldn't be too vertical, it should be slightly more open. Second, a common mistake with the side push is thinking you need to drag your whole arm horizontally. Watch my demonstration. Where is the force coming from? This ball has a very floaty, unpredictable trajectory. The action comes from the wrist, not the arm. So don't drag your arm. Think of the starting point as being in front of your chest. Since we need to hit the right side of the ball, your racket angle will be slightly angled. From that position, point your racket head towards the center line of the table. You'll notice a pattern. For the fast long push, the racket head aims for the table. For the side push, the racket head aims for the center line. Don't overcomplicate it. Just turn your racket head towards the center line, and you'll naturally execute a side push. Don't worry about your upper arm or forearm, just turn the racket head, and that's it. Notice, especially on a descending ball, a fast push would go into the net. But a side push on this ball works perfectly. From your chest, if you want a fast long push, aim for the table. If you want a side push, aim for the center line. You use your wrist to guide the racket head to its target, and the side push will happen automatically. You can use it at the peak of the bounce or on a descending ball, which creates a very awkward return for your opponent. It won't go into the net because your motion is sideways, not downwards. You're brushing the side of the ball, which creates a natural arc, making it less likely to hit the net. If you realize your timing is off and the ball is dropping, or the serve is too spinny to attack directly, use a side push to neutralize the difficult situation. Okay, let's teach the third technique, the side cut. The best use for a side cut is to return right side spin. For example, against a hook serve, I can use it to effectively cut through the spin and speed. It's the same for a backhand serve, which is also right side spin. A normal push is prone to errors, but if I switch to a side cut, it's much more stable. This is a relatively effective way to handle right side spin. Have you learned this serve before? This kind of side backspin chop serve is extremely spinny. And then there's the side topspin version. If you push it, it's guaranteed to pop up. This is essentially the side cut method. Kong Linghui's serve was a prime example of this. Many high-level penholders can use this compact push, and the ball comes back with side spin and topspin. Watch, if I push to the middle, you try to loop it. The ball I pushed has side topspin. This is very effective against players who only push, because they are usually very good at looping heavy backspin. So, when you side cut, if your motion goes sideways and upwards, the ball will inevitably have topspin. If you cut down on the ball like this, it creates backspin. So we can mix this up in our pushes. A motion like this produces side backspin, because I am cutting down with my forearm. To understand the direction, imagine starting the motion from your chest and swinging towards the umpire's position. Many players think the side cut involves forcing the ball sideways and downward, but it actually involves forcing it sideways and forward, similar to Kong Linghui's serve. If you feel your opponent is a strong looper, you can side cut sideways and upwards. The ball will have topspin, and they will likely loop it long. Because the side cut and side pushes have a low trajectory, amateur players will automatically assume it's heavy backspin. When they try to loop it with a big motion, it goes out. Watch, my hand starts below the ball. I prepare in front of my chest, then move side forward and upward. This ball has side topspin. If you want to add more backspin, just execute a normal sideways and downward motion. That's simple. For side backspin, push from your chest towards the umpire's position. So to review, for a fast long push, point to the table. For a side push, point to the center line. For a side cut, point to the umpire. It's the same for penhold. See how my racket head points towards the umpire? You can slice to the middle too. The placement doesn't matter, you can slice the ball anywhere. You don't have to aim for the short corner. If your starting position is below the ball, not behind it, and you push forward and upward, the ball will have slight side topspin. It's not pure topspin, just a little bit. If you're behind the ball and push forward and downward, that's side backspin. If I push like this, it's side backspin. So how do you do the side topspin version? I start with my hand below the ball and move sideways and upwards. But keep the motion subtle so your opponent can't read it. This results in topspin, and the ball will have a floaty feel. My father used this tactic a lot. He would do 2 heavy backspin pushes, then 1 no-spin push. Because the first 2 were so spinny, the opponent would assume the third was also heavy backspin and loop it right off the table. You can do this against left side spin too, but it takes some practice. To create backspin, I move sideways and downwards. If I want a no-spin ball, I just push a bit more forward. This ball will have no spin. For side backspin, just point your racket head down more. This ball is very spinny. To return left side spin with no spin, I won't chop down. I'll just push the racket head more forward. This ball clearly has less spin than the heavy backspin version. This one has spin, but what about this forward push? It's not very spinny, but it's fast and will jam them. If they treat it like heavy backspin, they'll likely loop it out. If you can only do one type of push, they can just attack it easily because you lack heavy spin variation. The reason some people win matches is because they vary their shots. For example, I'll do a fast long push. The opponent adjusts. Then I do a no-spin side push. They adjust again. Then I do a spinny side push. Or I'll do a side topspin side cut. Then a side backspin push. I'm constantly changing. Maybe even throw in a deceptive flick. That's what makes them hesitate. If you only have one type of spin, he will eventually adapt to it and start looping it back. Amateur players should really focus on improving their defense, short game, half-long balls, and serve returns. Don't just practice power loops, they're not always usable in a real match. Against players rated around 1800 to 1900, your goal should be to make them make mistakes. You see it all the time in amateur matches. They stand still when they should move when they should be still, and stay back when they should come in for a short ball. When they should hit with power, they soften their hand and just add spin. When they should be soft and brush the ball, they use too much force. Table tennis is a game of mistakes. Why would you leave the opportunity for error to yourself? Make your opponent make the mistakes. If they didn't make mistakes, their level would be higher, and they wouldn't be in the sub-1900 rating range.